Hello everyone. Morning. Let me know if you can't hear me or the audio or video is a little bit off. It's one of those typical cloudy, bright sun, no sun kind of days where the clouds are moving really fast. And yes, I'm wearing the black glasses, not the as other people call them, the Dame Edna glasses. Hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the last video and how a lot of people online, I mean, it's well-meaning. I do it all the time. I analyze things, but sometimes we get too complex in figuring out sometimes, not that there's small problems, that, how can I put it? That we make, not that we make simple things complex, that we would serve ourselves better if we simplified looking at things. So while it's true that we can really get into the forensics of male-female relationships and then really hold on to tightly certain phrases that can empower guys, I don't think we should get hung up on them, because we can kind of get as bad as some of the people you're against or that you're fighting against, like those FEMinists. And what sometimes happens that I find useful is to boil things down to the reality of a simple phrase. Like, why do you actually want to be in a relationship? What do you actually get out of being with this person? And a lot of times we've been trained into thinking in these broad romantic terms, and it's because of this, and there's these things I can't explain. But if you kind of pare it down and go, it's just because I like the feeling, or a relationship is supposed to feel good, and that makes you reflex into, what the hell am I doing here then? So often very, very simple, elementary things that we overcomplicate with very smart phrases and theories, and, you know, masculine frame and all this pickup BS. It's all very structural, but you don't get into relationships because of the structure. When you're sitting across from some chick on a date, it's just all about managing your feelings, or not even managing it, because you're not going to enjoy it unless you let go. The tricky thing to admit is it's very basic primal feelings. You want to get into them because of the feelings, yet you're trying to manage them with, slide rules and calculations and phrases, and making yourself into a robot that can operate in a relationship. Meanwhile, the girl's probably the only one that's enjoying it in terms of feelings, and you're trying to enjoy it like a robot. So I've always found that very simple phrases that mean something to you, that can minimize and simplify the whole thing. So you're not trying to spin 12 mental plates in your head, juggling the one situation in 12 complex ways. It drives you insane. And you might pat yourself on the back thinking that, aren't I clever? Look, I'm forensically analyzing this situation, this relationship. I'm smarter than her. Not really. And I'm saying it because I've been there too. Is that it can really help you if you pare things down to its basic essence. Why do you want to be there? What is this relationship supposed to be? And quite plainly, what is it not? I've often said, like, I know with myself, if it doesn't resemble a friendship, then I don't want to be in a relationship at all. Because take a look at what the things that a lot of guys want who do still want to be in committed relationships, or who do still have the door open or like the idea of it. There's trust. They talk about being betrayed by a woman. It's all this sort of stuff that family and friends generally, I know there are exceptions, but generally they wouldn't do. So family, friends wouldn't do this stuff that guys are complaining today about the modern woman, how they can't trust her. She goes back on her word. She doesn't sort of anchor herself to any practical things, where we excuse so much with a woman because, well, she changed her mind, she's gone by her feelings, and that's just the way relationships are. No, that's the way this person is allowed to act in relationships and how they're told romance is. You don't have to take one step in that direction. I think if we can train ourselves, like when you go to the gym, you go through the routine of training certain muscles, then those muscles are exercised when you're in front of a girl. Like, so it's great to know all this red PILL stuff, but if you switch that part of your brain off when you're in front of someone, like you feel a red flag or something tapping you at the back of the head when you're on a date, and you ignore it because, I don't care about that. I'm in feeling mode with this woman and all my biology wants to do is feel. It's like, no, you have to exercise it in an ethical, practical way so it's useful to you. If this information isn't useful, there's no point learning it, unless you're someone who just likes to learn about manosphere content in the same way you like learning about flowers, or you like learning about fish or astronomy or something. It's just kind of intellectually interesting. If this stuff is intellectually interesting, fine. But I find it's the most interesting when you can practice it. Like, even if you're a scientist, isn't it more fun when you can actually get the beakers out and the Bunsen burner and test these things out? Let me pull the comments section out. So I can read it. All right, let me go through and see what questions they are. Black Magic 1087. No muted funny business today, human, or else we will have to hold hostage for 5 minutes again. Yeah, let's hope I don't. I've actually downloaded a piece of software that lets me see my levels in real time on the actual mixer, flashing up and down. I didn't have that, so now I can actually see if I accidentally get muted. And I pretty much I did a bit of testing after the last live stream because, yeah, I didn't like what happened. It's annoying because I always think, what if there was a really good question and a really good conversation going on, and you can't recreate that? Also, am I too loud, or is the mic too sensitive? Because sometimes this mic's very, very sensitive, and I've done my best to adjust it so I've got clarity as well as having it as loud as possible. But I don't want you to hear every little pop and crackle in my mouth. Also, don't get too hung up on, I know we like to look for answers, again, simplify things. Today's environment loves to attach itself to clinical words like, they're a borderline, they're a narcissist, they're a blah, 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 all these psychological terms. And we can often excuse ourselves and say, well, I was with a narcissist, to let ourselves off the hook. And not to say that they weren't responsible for the way they acted, but in some ways, even if it's subconsciously, some of us can actually feel like, well, there's nothing I could have done. They're clinically diagnosed as blah, blah, blah. Don't fall into the trap of attaching to and going down the rabbit hole of all these psychological clinical diagnoses, because they can actually probably make you less powerless. More powerless. Because there's less you feel you can do because I couldn't do anything. They were diagnosed as such. Maybe they were just an a-hole, not a borderline. Ever thought of that? Fortis Atticus says, family and friends would do this stuff too. I beg to differ, man. Must be rough to have trusting people, family that is conjecture subjected to say family and friends would not do this. I'm saying generally. I've got good family, but I have heard from other people, a lot of people that sort of defoo their family and sort of get rid of them. I recognize that a lot of people aren't brought up with good families, and they're manipulative and psychologically manipulative. I get it. Hey Donna, yeah, we've got Anzac Day tomorrow. For all you Australians, it's not a public holiday. Do we have a public holiday? Usually, Aussies love to jump up and down to get a public holiday if one of our holidays falls on the weekend. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, make sure you use emojis to make them stand out in the chat stream. All right. If you guys have any questions, remember to sort of add emojis to them, make them stand out on the stream there, in the chat stream. I'll go through some of the notable comments that I came across underneath some of the last videos, mainly on the last one. But there was one comment on a previous one by MCL Corp 18 on the video. She's only happy when you make her feel special. This is about pay attention again to these simple things. Do you only feel good around her? Can you tolerate her when you just say yes to everything? You know, when you treat her like a princess, when you have to jump through hoops to put that smile on her face. Otherwise, she's neutral, she's grumpy, she's passive aggressive. You don't like being around her. Pay attention to those kind of things. Again, it's up to you. It's you. So that's why I always kind of say this self-reflective stuff is more important. It's all well and good to keep looking at her, how to figure her out like a science experiment or like an animal. You know, the wildebeest that goes north for the summer and it looks for fresh water and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? What are you going to do? We know what the wildebeest is like. So relating to my video about notice when you're in a relationship where you don't feel comfortable, notice your instincts and why you feel that way. Is it you? Is it her? Or is it simply an incompatibility? Most of the time, it's you can only feel good if you're not there and you just keep feeding her ego to make her feel good and treat her like a princess. He said, being married 7 years, I didn't know being a husband would entail being an entertainment director. Yes, every weekend she looks to me to come up with fun ideas for us and the kids. Just going to a local park or a picnic for a picnic doesn't cut it. Yeah, I've never liked that. Where you got to give her surprises, security, be the entertainment director. And doing the same thing isn't enough. If you did something nice that put a smile on her face and she thought was wonderful when you started dating, if you do it again, somehow it's the opposite of wonderful. You're not trying, it's boring. I've never understood that. If someone does something that I really enjoy, I'd love it if they did it to me every single day. Well, maybe not every single day. That might be a bit too much, but like just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I think it's more common with guys where we don't care, you know, the cliche of getting guys birthday presents, get them a cologne or a pair of socks or something. We don't care if we get repetitive things if we like it. But for somehow, I've never gotten along with these girls that need a lot of change. Can't stand it. I get anxiety trying to figure them out all the time in terms of coming up with surprises. It drives me nuts. Donna says, we all have Monday as the public holiday. Do we? I always forget about public holidays. I only work, I split my work up. I work for myself half the week, but from Monday to Wednesday, I work in an office. A pretty good office with a bunch of guys locally. And because I only work for someone else from Monday to Wednesday, I never pay attention to holidays. I never even take time off because I've balanced my life fairly well because I chose to. Don't have kids, don't have child support or anything like that. So I design my life as such. So whenever public holidays come up, it's usually like a couple of days before that people remind me. It's really, really weird. Whereas other people just like, they notice them, from over the horizon, from a real far distance away. Roy says, hey human, is flipping houses profitable in Australia? I'm assuming, but the house prices in Australia are ridiculous, so probably less so than other countries. If you're into that kind of stuff, probably look into it. But the house prices in Australia, particularly in Victoria, are ridiculous. I think last week or the week before, we just topped the average house price in Melbourne is $1 million, which is ridiculous, because the average wage of a person every year is still only $70,000, $60,000, $70,000. Wages have barely moved an inch, but house prices have exponentially risen. I heard somewhere for a country to be economically stable, the average house price must be on average 3 times the average wage. So if our average wages are about 60 to 70,000, but house prices are $1 million, that tells you that we're out of whack. So I don't know what that says about flipping houses. If you've got money, yeah, because a lot of Australians, especially, a lot of Victorians, they're kind of, and you see it by the TV shows, you can actually see what's popular in a culture just by looking at the advertising. I think some philosopher said that, some writer. If you want to know the character of a culture or a society, look at their advertising. Our reality TV shows just consist mainly of flipping houses, renovation shows, reality TV. There's a bit of cooking and stuff in there, but mainly relationship reality shows and flipping houses. So it's very big, the property market here, but it's overinflated, but everyone's got stars in their eyes. So the moment one person can flip one house, they just want to steamroll it and spin more than one house. Bullfighter 42 says Vancouver is the most expensive city in the world. Guys, if you want to ask a question, make sure you put some emojis in front of your question. Billy says, what's your thoughts on a long distance relationship? Hard. Yeah, I've known rare cases where it works, but it's hard. It's one of those things where, just practically, it would be hard. So I would say, if you're going to test it out, if you want to have a long-term relationship, the sooner you can move there or they move to you, the better. But vet your relationship, whether it's proximal or distal. Okay. All right, I'll put up some more comments from previous videos. Actually, on the previous video, these last ones will be about. John C said on my video, why do you want to be in a relationship? You got to ask yourself these questions, guys. She might be pretty. It's like you walk past the car yard and you see a Ferrari. It's kind of like you can't just switch your brain off and throw him your wallet, give him your credit card. Thanks, Brad, for the super chat. Quickly, Brad asks, male mother need is a big reason why men need to be in a relationship with women. That's why it's easier for some men than it is for others to go MGTOW. It is, but I think in the comments, Mr. Highway actually said it. He said the effects of men's addiction to women is virtually identical to the effects he sees of someone addicted to chemical substances or to alcohol or anything like that. When someone's just anesthetized and mesmerized and addicted to it, look, it's hard for reason to work. I mean, we've probably known with ourselves or how many of you could resist a woman. She's like a 20 out of 10 in terms of your type. She's a Victoria's Secret supermodel. She's your kind of nerd. She's exactly your kind of fit, and she's throwing herself at you. I know I'm talking a fictional scenario, but how many of you are going to switch on your prefrontal cortex and go, hang on a minute, whoa, 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 lady? And I'm not excusing, I'm not saying guys should just jump off that cliff, but this is the difficulty. But I agree with you, Brad. There is that male mother need that's also tied into it. That exacerbates things. So you might not see it on the surface. You just think, oh, I'm really attracted to women. I'm just the type of guy that says yes, and I love doing that, or it feels really natural and nice. But then when you look back in your childhood, your male mother need might be heightened more than other people because of the way you were treated by your mother, or lack thereof. Like maybe your mother wasn't around. You didn't get affection. You spent the rest of your life chasing after women. And the first time you get a woman that likes you, you get a girlfriend, you ramp up your yes machine. You ramp up Romeo. You just want to do everything. You want to say yes to her with everything. And so the male mother need is bigger in some guys than others because of childhood trauma and experiences. Some of these questions, guys, I don't know how to answer, or there's no point answering them. I don't know what it would offer, guys. Like this question by Devon: what is the richest you've ever been, and what was it like? Never been rich. Always been comfortable, though. I try and be as sensible as I can. Humble Beginnings says, I used to go out for drinks with some... Oh, actually, I may as well answer John C's comment. It's been on the screen. Sorry, guys. I wanted to answer Brad's super chat quickly. I'll get back to you, Humble Beginnings. John C said for my video, why do you want to be in a relationship? He said, after my last breakup, I knew from experience from time to time I'd naturally look back to the warmth and intimacy she provided and missed it. Therefore, I wrote down on the back of a small business card the top 3 reasons why we broke up: withholding sex, SHIT testing, etc., and put it in my wallet. Then, when I'd start to reminisce about the good times, yeah, I've been there, I'd stop, pull out the card, and by the time I read number 2, I'd say, okay, and go about my business. This is actually a good way of reminding yourself when your mind conveniently remembers a nice moment. Your mind doesn't actually think of danger unless it's something in front of you that it's trying to avoid. When you're daydreaming, your brain has a peculiar thing of probably wanting that intimacy again. You want that feeling, that warmth, and straight away you'll think of, oh, how warm a fire is. So you'll never think of how the fire burnt you. Okay, Humble Beginnings. I'll go back to his comment. He said, I used to go out for drinks with some Aussie buddies. They were all pilots. They used to tell me about the matriarch in Australia. I was skeptical until I found Humans Channel. Okay, that wasn't a question, but commercial pilots, they'd probably get some action though, wouldn't they? A lot of stewardesses. Bullfighter 42 Human, what age would you say you took the red PILL and no longer were a SIMP? I was probably like a 80% SIMP, I'd say. I always had very hard boundaries, but I had way too many. I said yes to everything before that, where I shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been a gradual scale where if that characteristic, I'll give you an example. Like I had hard boundaries, like I'm not going to walk down the aisle. I'm not going to have children. I know I don't want children. So what's the point of getting married? Blah, 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 blah. And so my problem, before I found sort of manosphere content, I started reading more, before I started being more of an anti-feminist, was gradually when her as a personality would just act like a total wretch and an awful person, I wouldn't sort of say, I wouldn't confront it, I wouldn't say anything. I'd be kind of like, well, women, but I'd say, well, I've got my boundary of no kids, so she's not going to get me. So sometimes, like, I had these hard boundaries that I wouldn't cross, where I'm glad I didn't have those. I'm glad I had those, so I didn't really step on many landmines. But beforehand, I excused a lot getting to those boundaries, which was kind of, it was silly, because in my mind I was like, well, I've got these definite boundaries, so they're definite, so everything beyond, before that, I can relax. No, you can't. You need to keep your eyes open and trust your instincts. When you feel like crap in a relationship, ask yourself why. Am I in focus? I think I'm in focus. Again, simple questions, gentlemen. Are you and your woman on the same page? Because I can guarantee you and your best friends are on the same page, even if you're different personalities, the way you get along. Look at these simple things. We can get overly philosophical, we can get complicated, we can use flowery language, we can get theatrical, but talk very simply. I'm very Hemingway when it comes to this. Write plainly, communicate very plainly to yourself. Speak very plainly if you can, especially amongst people. Communicate that way so you can hear yourself. Like, what's the source of the issue? Say it in a very brief sentence. Be poetic about it, but not poetic as in terms of flowery. Be poetic in terms of Charles Bukowski. Do you feel good? If not, why? What is a relationship? Oh, how come I feel good around my friends, but not around her? Isn't that weird? Not just weird, stupid. Are you and your woman on the same page? I should do a video on that. Just the guy says, long distance relationships are horrible. Don't waste your time unless you have some concrete prospects. Yeah, if it's just torturing yourself, long distance in a relationship, and you're never going to meet, it can. I'd imagine it'd be similar to being addicted to online porn, just never-ending torture, and never getting anywhere with it. Like. Humble Beginnings says, women don't seem to be the biggest problem. We know her nature at this point. It's the SIMP that messes the game up. Yeah. And it's, again, all good to talk out there. Women, SIMPs, pickup artists, whatever. Not to get angry or blame them, but self-reflect. What am I not? What don't I agree with? What doesn't work for me? Who am I about? Who am I about? What's my life about? Who fits with me? What narrow band of friends and relationships can I actually feel comfortable with? And everything outside of them I reject because it's no good for my life. Time is short, etc., etc. If you don't treat yourself well, who will, guys? The wrong woman certainly won't, and that's most of them out there. The Chaz83 says, how do you fix the male mother need? I desperately need help, so upset and angry. Again, while the male mother need can be a real thing, don't get hung up on the diagnosis of it, because it can be as powerless as talking about all women. So the title of male mother need, while it might sort of be a factor in your past, if you recognize where it came from, if you know it was because, when you were young, your mum didn't give you attention, or she abandoned you, or something similar, right? There's a connection you can actually see, and you can say, well, that's maybe why I'm like this, because I don't see my friends acting like this. My friends aren't as obsequious around women as I am. They don't get on their knees like I do around women. It's great that you recognize it, because a lot of guys have the bravado of like, nah, that's not me. I just stuffed up, but yeah, next time I won't. Like they don't want to ignore what they have in them, or they have a propensity to sort of be weak in certain ways. It's great that you notice it. I wouldn't get hung up on it like a powerless thing, because you've had the experience and there's a scar in there that other guys might not have, or you have more than they do. I would look at, all right, what's going to make it come up less in your life? How you think, what you don't let into your life, what kind of women you no longer want to be attracted to. One thing for me, I remember I started to get really disgusted in the types of women that, as a younger guy, I was really attracted to. You know, your typical bimbo-looking Victoria's Secret model. As time went on, I started to be revulsed. I had a revulsion towards them because they were all the same. And so I don't have much of an attraction. Yeah, a superficial attraction, like when you're online watching PORN, sure. But in terms of that warm feeling of like, wow, I want to go up and talk to her, I want to ask her out for a coffee. I remember in my 30s, I started to prominently notice that when I was out with friends, a hot-looking bimbo would walk by and my friends would salivate, and I'd realize, this is pathetic. I can't stand it. I got angry at the girl in my mind who walked by because of the pull she had on guys, my friends, and how I used to be. And I saw myself in my friends. And so this sort of stuff has to matter in the way that it trains you away from your bad habits and towards better ones. And if you get excited about what this stuff can give you, how it can teach you, how you can be a better guy, for yourself primarily, not for them, who cares about some female stranger? For you, that's where this can be a powerful sort of ethical, a moral philosophy by which you can sort of guide yourself forward. So it's not about defending yourself against women. Women bosses, the government, the world. It's not about defending yourself so much against them with this stuff. It's giving yourself nutrition, speaking better, thinking better, making the right decisions. When a hot bimbo walks past, your natural reflex is suspicion, or holding her at arm's length and saying like, whoa, no thanks, I know what that is. Or revulsion. But a healthier knee-jerk reaction because you've trained yourself to be a better person, You've scarred yourself in a healthy way, if you want to put it that way. This guy says, yep, pretty sure my ex was rammed through by the whole world at this point. Kenji, thank you very much for the super chat. His comment is, I've noticed that men need women to motivate them to better themselves. Motivate them, yes. To better themselves? I don't know. That could be subjective, right? Because is that kind of also inferring that women know they've got some sort of intelligence and they know how a man needs to be bettered? I agree on the first one. Generally, women motivate men. It's sad that a lot of men don't have the will to motivate themselves, either as a muse to be worthy of or provide a better life for, or the slave driver who drives them to be a better person. Yes, in those kind of things, unconsciously, they can get a guy off his backside. But the whole point is, as much as you can, I know we don't have as much free will as we think we do, but as much as you can, when you recognize this stuff, is part of you kind of kicks yourself in the backside, kind of thinking, well, this is embarrassing. Why is this bimbo the only person who can do it for me? Why can't I motivate myself? Why can't I go for a walk? Why can't I write something? Why can't I produce a video? Why can't I produce some music? Why do I feel flat when I don't have the girlfriend object in my life that I can feel secure in. Again, it might be male mother need, it could be a lot of stuff, but face them. And yeah, like as much as you can, make your life for yourself, guys. And if precisely the right woman comes along, I'm not saying you need to, but you've got that very narrow door for exactly your kind of person, and then interrogate, investigate, spend time with, prove yourself without any reason, to any reasonable degree, why you should actually be with her, committed, before you take the next steps, whether it's committing monogamously. You know, you guys who want children, you know, before you even decide to move in with her, spend years with her, not, oh, we just met and we just knew. No, don't be like that. For me, this is all about being honest with yourself, not looking to defend yourself against women and trying to game the system in a way that you can squeeze in and get something without being noticed, where you don't have to do any mental work, where you don't have to develop any ethics. Are people happy with these glasses this time? A lot of people were complaining about my last ones. I think these ones look a bit better because I've got a shaved head. Whereas these ones, which are the same, are probably better suited to someone who has hair. So there's a contrast between your dark hair and something like this. But anyway, I don't mind either. But yeah, I agree. These are more me. Time of dying 00. What's the specs of the computer used for live streaming? Did you build it yourself? Any computer part recommendations? I don't know, guys. I'm not a big computer parts nerd. I built this computer a few years ago with a friend, but they did the heavy lifting. They're the sort of the builder, the tech nerd. They're upgrading their computer all the time. I think I've got 16 meg of RAM on board. A decent graphics card, nothing high end, more middle of the road. Basically something just able to drive my monitor. I've got a widescreen monitor, which is like 5440 by 1440 high, something like that. So the card is like a middle of the road and sort of yeah, anyway, my mind's going blank. I'm not a tech head. When it comes to cameras and microphones, I am. With the stuff I use to create content, I am. See, with the computer, it's something, when I helped my friend build it, I was into it a little bit and I knew, but then once you build a computer, you just switch it on and use it. Unlike cameras and microphones, where you have to continually be mentally engaged with the information and technology. So I'm constantly always refreshing myself because I've got to pay attention to, you know, what shutter speed, f-stop, exposure, all this stuff has got to do with cameras, and my ND filter, how the camera's plugged in, things like that, my microphone compression levels, things like that. So I'm always exercising familiar parts of my brains to do with technology. But because I usually build a computer, set it and forget it for a few years until I need to upgrade again, because my computer, you know, the computer can't handle what I'm trying to do with the software I'm trying to do. I don't know too much other than 16 meg of RAM on board. I think I've got just a couple of mega RAM on the graphics card, not very much at all, but it's I think it's just a solid middle of the road gaming computer, or a low end gaming computer, if you want to look at it that way. I do need more RAM though. I notice it when I'm drawing on my graphics tablet that it lags a little bit. Some of these questions are very broad, guys. I can't answer them very succinctly because they're umbrella questions. Like the Chaz83 says, how do you overcome women's power? It's a big question. Remember, if you want to ask a question, make sure you use some emojis at the start. Git Gud Gabrielle says, what in your estimation does a healthy relationship between a man and a woman look like? For me, it resembles a friendship. And that means people who generally fit together. Temperament, ethics, and their moral philosophies generally the same. You don't have to be the same, identical. You don't have to be carbon copies of each other. Like, none of my friends are exactly like me. But the kind of energy and temperament when we hang out, the respect we have, and probably it has to do with upbringing too. I'd say with females, with romantic relationships, one of the things that I found was you ask them about their family, if they grew up similarly to you, if they respect their brothers and sisters and their mother and father, they had good relationships. They generally reflect on life and the people in their lives the same way you do. They might have different tweaks. Oh, they had this in their life, or they did this, or they lived here, or they did that. And yours is slightly different. But what you enjoy, your humor, your entertainment, how you speak, what you're interested in, it tends to be similar, and you can get along just effortlessly. And most importantly, you can talk to them a lot and spend the whole day without even trying. You don't have to look for conversation. Again, much like a friend. That's why I always say, look for the friendship quality if you're looking for a monogamous, long-term, serious relationship. Otherwise, keep spinning plates and being frustrated and having your cortisol levels spiked all the time, and your testosterone will keep dropping because your cortisol is constantly spiked because you're spinning so many female plates. That's the other reason I never liked the feeling of having so many women, like dating a lot of women during the dating phase. I always wanted the dating phase to be over. Too much of a control freak. I'd rather be in control of my life and be in control of one woman than try and control multiple and think I'm free, because the situation's controlling you when you look at it. Like, what's control really? It's when you simplify things, where everything's in clear focus, where things are more singular. When they're multiplied, it's hard to keep control of them. Remember, guys, if you want to ask a question, add some emojis. Faunacide Mookie Mooks, human, are you a perfectionist? Yeah, in a lot of things I am, but I've learned not to be a perfectionist in other stuff. Particularly, this is a tricky thing. Around my platonic relationships with other people, I've trained myself over decades to switch that off, because I was a perfectionist in everything. What can happen is you can sterilize your life to such a degree that you take the enjoyment out of everything, not just relationships, because everything's got to be almost surgically precise and engineer-like, where there's no feeling in it. And then when you look at it, it's like, why the hell am I here anyway? I only want a relationship or a girlfriend because of the feelings. It's different from the science I like, from the art that I find myself creating, that the photography, the music, that whatever you're doing, whatever your hobbies are, building model airplanes, like there's a precision in that, there's a male space. But the degree to which you extend that in your interpersonal relationships with people can really make your life seem grey and not in colour. So I've learned with people to sort of just let go and be free, but be tethered to where my life is. So it's kind of like I've learned to have a rope only so far and let go in the world. I'm like a dog on a very short leash when I go out into the world, and I go no further. With people I trust, and that's trust over time, that leash is longer. And then obviously with enough trust, people you've known for so long and you trust them completely, especially your family and friends and people you've known your whole life, you don't have a leash. But then again, even with them, sometimes you do, because even with your best friend, it's not like you trust them with everything. So yeah. So I'm a perfectionist, but with stuff, I am. So I've got my healthy boundaries, and within those boundaries, I play, and I can be a perfectionist with my art. So if I've got my head down in paper, writing, drawing, creating art, creating music, I can be a perfectionist, but liberated in the fact that I can publish it. I don't have to. I can keep working on it. So I don't have to be perfect because the thing's never finished. I can keep perfecting writing until the cows come home. It depends on whether you've got goals that are too stringent. That can actually weigh on your head as a perfectionist. But if you've got open-ended perfectionism in the stuff you do, you can work on a piece of music for years if you want, happily, because it's something to wake up to and continually chip away at. But if you've kind of stressed yourself out where, like, I need to get this out now and it's got to be perfect, then your life's going to be crap. Same with my videos. My motto is good is better than perfect. I would rather get a video or two out every week to sit down with you guys as a conversation, like catch up with you guys and offer you a piece of my thought and enjoy making the videos, because I do that. So I like to take a look at how I enjoy life. I don't like to be clinically precise because it'll stress me out. Same with friends. You want to let go and enjoy things, but you've got obvious hard boundaries when someone starts to make you feel bad. Same with my hobbies. When my hobbies start to kind of close in on me like a vice and start to make me feel stressed, I let go and I start doing something else. I go for a run, go visit family or friends. Don't let people or things start closing in on you and stressing you out. If they do, maybe you only need a certain amount of time with certain things, or the way you're dealing with something, you can kind of be a perfectionist. Sometimes it's good to train yourself to let go. I know I did that with writing, and I got it from, I can't remember if it was Hemingway or F. Scott Fitzgerald, where they said, it could have been another writer, where they said a good rule of thumb is when you're writing and you're in the flow of things, leave when you're in the middle. If you've been working for a few hours, don't ride the wave and say, I'm feeling really good, I want to keep going. You deplete the tank, leave it when you objectively know you've had enough time riding, or you're feeling good, so you can come back tomorrow to continue where you left off. So basically you leave yourself at a state of energy where you can come back and latch onto it and continue it, rather than burn yourself out. So yeah, that was a bit about my perfectionism and how I sort of organize myself. Southern Soul, yeah, hit the thumbs up, guys, and hit the like button and subscribe on my channel. It's free. Helps me out. Yeah, since the last few months, I don't know what YouTube has been doing, but no matter what I do, my views have started to sort of stagnate. So anyway, you can help me share my videos around, thumbs up, and subscribe, and make sure you've got the notification bell hit. That'll help me out. If you appreciate what I do, that is. Billy says, I feel people judge me being 50, single with no kids, always need to provide reasons why I'm living this lifestyle. I know what you mean, man. I've had that reaction a few times as well. No kids? Not married? No. Yeah, and the impulse is to kind of defend the decision, because especially because I've read a lot about this stuff. male-female dynamics. I know why I don't and do want it. And then when you start telling them why you don't, you come off as an extremist sometimes because you're passionate about it. So you kind of have to learn to kind of judge the person who's asking you why you're not married and actually see if they're genuinely curious or they've got the temperament where you can have a casual conversation and they're interested, or they're just a person that's your pedestrian normie that's just going to get into some sort of ridiculous political debate, and they've got the mind of reality TV. So there's no point with them. You just walk away and you just say, nah, just haven't found the right woman, I guess. Just been unlucky. Just give them nothing. Don't bother explaining it, because a lot of people don't care. They don't. Save your breath. Donna says, Billy, mate, why do you give a SHIT what other people think? True, but Donna also, you know what it's like. Sometimes if you're passionate about something, like say your football team or something, and someone touches on a topic that you're passionate about, because you're passionate, the passion wants to come out and defend it. And so that's the natural instinct. I'm kind of saying, again, you're right partly. I'd say don't give a crap what other people think. But also, don't give a crap, especially with the people who don't really care. If you can tell you can have a nice conversation and you'll enjoy letting your passion out about the subject you care about, fair enough. 90-something% of people don't care. They want to make you feel uncomfortable. Never been married? No kids? Wow. Why? Like, that's odd. Yeah, who cares? I don't want to have a conversation with that kind of person. Because, again, it's kind of like two opposing religions trying to convince each other. Yeah, I don't want to have a deep and meaningful... Look, I do want to have a deep and meaningful conversation, but I don't want to pretend and have a deep and meaningful conversation with someone who's opposed to being open-minded. I like open-minded conversations with people who are calm and flexible. Like I said, I've had really interesting conversations with first wave FE eminists, older women, who on their shoulder, they've got sort of self-responsibility as their prime mode of operating. That's why back in the 60s, that's why they adopted it. Whether or not I agree with them is another thing, but I could actually have a civil conversation. They're more about, I want to be responsible, and I also want to be responsible about walking alone in a dark alley. That's on me. So it depends on who you're talking to. So just, again, even more reason to pay attention on how you think, how you've got your antenna up, what people you talk to, and reading between the lines, and being aware of what kind of people you're dealing with, basically. Whether it's a woman on a date, the place you decide to work, how you feel in your life, in the work environment, in a relationship. And don't ignore it. And it's like, well, that's just the way it is. That's the way relationships are. That's what jobs are. Everyone hates jobs, right? No, not everyone. And then don't cop out by saying, oh, well, that person's lucky, or human's lucky. He doesn't hate. He's like, it's like, I took this stuff seriously enough that I felt foolish that I can't just complain about it, because it's just going to continue, and I'm going to complain and be worse and worse in my life. I'm going to find it harder to get up and be motivated in life. But the more I can slightly adjust things, leave the bad job, leave the bad relationship, pick better jobs, pick better relationships, only pick things that fit with me. What do I like in life, etc., etc. I'm not saying it's easy, but what's the alternative? A worse and worse life. That's guaranteed. Guaranteed. Or you can try a little bit, just a little bit. Baby steps. Oof. Lemon lime cordial. Maybe it just tastes worse because I'm having it after coffee. Ken G says, I've got a comment by you, Ken, which reminds me I should probably get back to some of the comments. He said, like my brother did nothing with his life until meeting his wife. She demanded he get a job and then motivated him to provide a better life. Some guys actually need the role of a husband, father, or wife, hopefully a good one. Some guys get lucky enough to get a wife that motivates them in the way they're appreciative of. So most people out there, they're not philosophically interested. They're not motivated. They're not curious about life. They're not intellectually curious. Most people, love hot dogs and barbecues and football and, thinking and talking about the same things. I mean, a lot of us have been to barbecues and you've been around all these guys who think and talk the same way. Job, kids, football, finances. No conversation that I'm really that interested in, no depth. And as a result, I'm not that person. That's how I knew I couldn't be that kind of family guy. That's how I knew that my life would be different, and any relationship I would have would need to be with a weirder kind of non-normie kind of woman. Let's get back to the comments. Dave P said on the video, why do you want to be in a relationship? He says a relationship is an investment in yourself and someone else. What you have to figure out early on is, 1, why am I getting into this? 2, what do I want to contribute? Yeah, what are your limits? What are your boundaries? What are definite no-goes to you? And are you voicing this to her in the initial stages before you get committed? So you're not later saying, oh, I'll spring this on my partner later on. You wouldn't appreciate it, neither would they. And you're just wasting your time. You're better off being single. 3, what do I expect to get out of it? Yeah, have some needs, guys. Don't be this selfless macho like, I don't need anything. A real man is self-sufficient. Yeah, but it's good to have needs. You should have something. You should have needs of a woman. It shows you how much she cares. If she doesn't have to do anything, she's entitled, and you get off on being her macho slave that doesn't need anything coming back to him, you're setting yourself up to be used. Then really, how much can you complain about the type of woman, the type of typical feminist woman you get? Number 4, when does the law of diminishing returns kick in? Yeah, when do you notice and trust your instincts that you'll say, I don't like this situation. I'm starting to hate her. This isn't a relationship. I'm torturing myself. He says, most of us don't ask ourselves these questions, and we should. I agree. It feels warm under the wing of a dragon. Sorry. The phrase of it feels warm underneath the wing of a dragon was by another commenter, and I accidentally posted it underneath Dave P's comment. Sorry about that. It was someone else. I can't remember who it was, but you know who you are. Someone else posted the term, it feels warm underneath the wing of a dragon, in terms of this last video where I said we look towards the warmth of a relationship and that's all we feel we want. We have this gravitational pull biologically to feel warm and warm ourselves near the fire of a relationship that is someone else. And he said it feels warm under the wing of a dragon. Gerhard S. says, you can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Yeah. It reminds me of that Chris Cornell's song. I think it was on the first Audio Slave album, where it was, I think it was, one of the phrases was, I set myself on fire and it still wasn't enough, or something like that. James Von Maxwell, Hamster. He had 2 comments which I thought were really good to sort of put in. James, the silky-voiced, radio-voiced man, said, I wonder what the optimal ratio of good to bad in a relationship is in a relationship. 80-20? I mean, everyone will have bad stretches. We're only human, pun intended. Yeah, and I kind of said, I think the more eye-opening fact is that men require very little good in a relationship to be content and stay in it. We're okay with 80-20. Men are very simple. We don't care if we only get 20%, as long as the 80% that we're not getting, we're happy to give, and they're not busting our chops. But when you get barely 1% good, or the 99% or the 80% is like wretched and it's horrific, that it seems like rolling around in broken glass is preferable to being with this woman. Yeah, it makes you wonder. And then James also added in another comment, when we miss someone from a broken relationship, humans tend to only remember the good parts of the relationship because it makes us feel good. Yeah, again, be aware of your feelings, guys. Don't just dismiss feelings as that's something chicks do. Men have feelings too. If you don't like the word feelings, use the word intuition. He continues, when taken from an objective standpoint, there was probably as much good as bad. Yeah, sometimes it's not always equal, but I get what you mean. Well, at least I tend to forget about the bad. I've been in 2 relationships with the same woman some years apart. Between the first and second, all I remembered was the good. Yeah, it's funny how our brains do that. And during the second, I remembered and experienced the bad all over again. The point is, there's usually a reason in a relationship ends. If it were all good, why would it have ended? Yeah, and I kind of, that's something, these blind spots that if you don't exercise this stuff, like going to the gym and working on one body part, all these parts of male-female dynamics, you leave a relationship for a reason. We tend to forget these things. That's an exercise. Refresh yourself on these central points of what can help you and what frustrates us. And then when you go out into the world and you meet another potential, the red flags show up really quickly. If you don't see red flags. Or as someone else said, you become colorblind. So no flags look red. And I said it's like a memory. It's funny, like a lot of guys, our memories are like a photo album. We only take snapshots of good things. And I remember Coterie did an old video on that called Snapshot Hearts. If you can find it, it's a really good one. And then we get back with our exes. I've never gotten back with an ex, but I remember catching up again with an ex for a coffee when I was younger. Because you miss them. You miss the good times because you think of the good times. But on the first date, or it takes us 1 or 2 dates, it's like, yeah, now I see the person that I left. And I said, when you get back with them, you realize your brain, when it looks at the good moments only, your brain only looks at the brochure of your past relationship, the selling point. So your brain likes to look at the feel-good brochure. It doesn't like to let you know about the hidden costs, the fine print at the bottom. So be aware of that stuff, guys. Thanks, Hamster. David says, when I work to improve myself, women notice me. My motivation is myself. It's a peculiar thing. You have to ignore women for women to not ignore you. It's really dumb. It's anti-intuitive. Like, you have to pretend to not care. Like, PUAs tend to kind of go, you have to be indifferent, train yourself not to care about the thing you care about and want, that you're putting all the effort in for. I always found that counterintuitive. Like, I can't, if I love drawing, I can't pretend to not like drawing. It's weird anyway. It's never worked for me, trying to trick myself in that way. Maybe it's just me. The Bushman says there are no victims, only volunteers. Safety first. AEST Log says it's interesting the cognitive dissonance we as men can have with seemingly hot, yet clearly promiscuous women. The lizard brain is simultaneously attracted and repulsed. Yeah, it annoys me too. There's certain aspects of... Take a look at, even simply, like, when you go online and you look at your little fetishes and you watch the porn that you're into, and it might get you excited. But think about that in your own life, if it was real, if your girlfriend acted like that. It would break your heart. It would destroy you mentally. So there's this, the lizard brain is simultaneously attracted to and repulsed certain things. And again, that's why knowing yourself is very important. Separating fantasy from reality. Separating the fantasy of what's good in fiction and what's entertainment versus what works for you. and your personality and your values and what makes your life comfortable and stable, so your heart doesn't get broken, because we don't like feeling heartbroken. A Feral Android says, what do you think of the PUA term spinning plates? Seems exhausting. Yep. It seems exhausting because it is. I use it just to sort of describe how exhausting it is. It's exactly how it sounds. Your mind never sleeps and you're always exhausted. You're mentally fried and your cortisol levels go up. The Bushman says it takes 5 years to get to know someone. And even if you find someone you think is perfect for you, you're always revealing new things. So it does. It takes many, many years. Here we go. Jay Witchman says, I like the clear frames. There you go. Can't please everyone. Tim, what necklace are you wearing? We can't see it. Usually I wear my other one, which is an Alexander McQueen necklace. But yeah, why do I have Alexander? This one's Alexander the Great. I just like the coin. Anyway. Head Gasket 84 says, low-hanging fruit isn't always the best option. Yeah, that's a good analogy with a lot of hot bimbos. But it's funny though, but they require the most work. It's also not quite an apt analogy, because the best fruit is the one higher up in the tree or one harder to get to, but they require more work to get to. Whereas there's the easiest to get along with. So it's a kind of funny analogy that's not quite perfect. Who's playing tomorrow, Donna, in the footy? Is it Collingwood again? Usually Collingwood plays on the Anzac Day thing, don't they? I think this is a question. Jake says his answer is easy, get older. Is this how do you find a high-value woman? Because of the online dating situation today and how it's a circus. He says easy, get older. Yeah, with age, a lot of stuff gets older. Your hormones drop. Your brain starts operating more of you than your hormones, which is good. Humble Beginnings, he says, do they do prenatal child support in Australia? Is prenatal child support a thing? Probably. It wouldn't surprise me, man. We're one of the most I almost said the word. We're one of the most feminist countries on the planet. So it wouldn't surprise me if we have prenatal child support here. Chris Triple G, thank you very much for the super chat. His comment is, my ex threw me out like trash and left me for another guy after 4 years. I did so much for her over those years and she just didn't care at all. That's the most painful thing. Like if she did a bit, you did a bit, and then it slowly fell apart, that's different. I think that's part of the pain, where we realize it was a one-way street and we just kept giving and giving and giving. And we just thought eventually, surely a human being has to come around and feel guilt at some point and give back. And then you realize not that human being, not the moron I picked. It's kind of a shame that you let it go on that long. When I look back on some of my past relationships, some of my rolling of the eyes and, wincing of the face and feeling like, ugh, that was a bad moment or that was a bad relationship, it's mainly because I just stayed too long. Think about it. If you're with a wretch for a very short period of time, it's a funny story. If you're with a wretch in a committed long-term relationship for years, it's not a funny story. It's wasted time. It's wasted life. You could have missed out on so much of life while you were locked in this bubble with this moron. Met a better person, had a better relationship, met friends, traveled, pursued your hobbies more, moved countries, just lived a different life. Don't forget how much the wrong person restrains and locks you in place in that misery, frozen misery for years. I think it's the wasted life that's subconsciously we get the feeling of like, ugh, I was with them for so long. Alternate 007 says, I'm addicted to the euphoric feeling when I escape into the womb of a caring woman. What are some healthy ways to deal with my burnout? Look, it feels great to just sort of fall into a woman. Think about it, even just primal things like I know when I've had great relationships with women, the falling into them, the smell, the warmth, the touch, those things are my hobbies and pastimes in my own life, which I love, just can't give me those. And when you fall into those kind of tactile, primal, sensory things that a woman can give you, especially your woman that connects with you hormonally, and even like smell and touch, like there's really kind of incomprehensible things. It's like, but you feel it. That's really hard when you know that you've experienced it and you really love that. The trick is to kind of, if you really want it, is not accept anything less. You can't sort of, again, I can't, like the last video, you can't just want that warmth and try and turn a burning fire into something comfortable and warm. If it's burning you, or if it's cold as ice, it's not your warmth. It has to be comfortable warmth in some, like you have to feel that contentment and calmness. You can't feel burnt, you can't feel cold, you can't feel frustrated, you can't feel nervous. You got to actually love the warmth of that person. And until you feel it, you reject everything else because you're wasting time in feeling that warmth or potentially finding it in someone else. And if you don't, at least stay content on your own. Don't accept anything else other than familiarity and warmth, the way that kind of affects, that works for you. Yeah, another way to find out if she's the one, Ted 1775 says, keep having your balls broken. Corey says to the Bushman, 5 years, really. A year or two tops, I think. Just how and where to look. How about your intuition? It's hard. Some people take longer than others. Like, I admire people that can kind of see the signs and bail quickly within a few months. Like after they fall in love and then they straight away see things turning and they bail. Whereas with mine, once I've fallen for a girl, when I see things going wrong, because I valued it getting to that point, and for me, it takes a long time for me to kind of really feel that depth, that I try everything I can so there's no doubt in my mind when I need to bail and leave. So because in the future, I don't want to regret anything. So usually, like for me, it's been between 1 to 2 years before I realized, that 10 months to 1 year honeymoon period, and then it starts going downhill slowly. And then I notice little things, whereas other people, I don't know if it's good or bad, because I'd often be wondering if I bailed at the first sign of anything, depending on how big it is. Obviously, if someone really does something badly, that anyone would objectively bail. Like, they try and stab you, or, they try and burn your house down, or, they cheat on you or something. but incremental things as they pop up. Some people have a very, very binary standard, like, nah, I'm out. I don't know if that's healthy. It almost guarantees you don't have any patience. You're overreacting. But yeah, with me, it's 1 to 2 years. Tolerating something really wrong for 5 years. If you don't have children, yeah, I don't know why you could do that or how you could do it. I certainly couldn't. Walking in my shoes, 96. Are divorce lawyers as dangerous in Australia as they are in America? Yep. By the news articles, I'd say maybe in America they're slightly more dangerous. The news stories we get from you guys in the States is like we're watching reality TV. I mean, ours are pretty bad here. Yours are just reality TV worthy. YT Duffy, how do you recover after a breakup? That's a big question. Depends on your personality, what you went through, etc. So it's different. The only one-size-fits-all solution that might work in a general sense is don't isolate yourself, unless it's objectively beneficial to you. But surround yourself with good family and friends. Don't kick yourself. Don't isolate yourself. Be around people. Let stuff out. Good friends will listen. Things like that. But don't isolate yourself. Don't close yourself in and make it worse. Spec Ops 0000 says, you don't want a relationship, you want female validation. Free yourself. Yep. It just amazes me how many guys, they don't even like their girlfriend. The way they talk, like they tolerate so much. It's like, and they think, wow, it's just women. It's like, nah. Your girlfriend and you aren't even friends. You can't even talk to her. You don't like her. You hate each other. And you think, well, men and women are different. Of course they don't like each other. No. Stop just picking the window dressing. When you're both naked and you're both, everyone's the same, more or less. Yeah, some people more match you in the bedroom than others, but have some standards in terms of your lifestyle, guys, and your interests. Otherwise, you're turning a Tinder date into a relationship. Neil Omatic says, are we spending too much time analysing our past failures? With our newfound insight, looking backwards seems to validate our view of females now, even though memories fade and are selective. That's very true. Sometimes it can be a soothing factor to kind of understand our past, to tie it up and cauterize it. But then how is it hamstringing you going forward? Are you enjoying your life? Or are you just kind of scientifically pushing life away from you all the time? Life's meant to be enjoyed too, guys, and I'm not saying you need to be in a relationship, but the analysis of our past should teach us moving forward, not create a wall for us that we can't go forward, that we just stay there, inert until the grave. Ted1775 Human, what about if a woman asks about love? Well, again, what's your theory of love? What's love to you? All these questions that Men don't like that women give them the way they act, what they say. If we get frustrated by them, learn how to respond. Simple as that. It should be an interesting question because you want to be able to answer it. You don't want to be debilitated by her saying something. Where is this going? What's love? Like, have an answer for it from your reference point. Who cares what she thinks? You're entitled to have your opinion. So, who cares when a woman asks about love? What do you think about it? What's love to you? What do you see as a relationship? What do you want in a relationship? Do you want a relationship at all? Don't just have bravado. It's like, I don't need a relationship. But you know that, oh, well, it would be nice to have this or that, but that's a unicorn. Well, okay. Say your unicorn. What does your unicorn look like? If you never get that, then you say no to every woman. Have an answer to things. If a woman asks you what is love, let her know your answer. I think I made a video a while ago to the average modern woman, to the average man today, love resembles a tree. To the average modern woman, love resembles a Christmas tree. Ted 1775, what do Aussie women really love? Like most Western women, the majority of them are the same, I suppose. They love and go by the script of what American women and UK women love, and now slowly European women in certain countries. Slightly different. But I'd say security, materialism, etc., etc. The basic Western woman. Maud Gast, do you like Buddhism? Yeah, I have nothing against it. It's got some nice teachings. There you go. I knew Donna would have an answer for this, to Ted. Aussie Sheilas love football, cricket, fishing, doing interesting stuff. Yeah, Donna sounds like a CBF chick. And that's camping, boating, fishing. Not can't be effed. Tyler says, I get that a lot. I'm 32 with no wife or kids. They look at me like something is wrong with me. Yeah, sometimes the person asking you the question looks at you like you've got two heads. What, you don't love marriage? No. Because they're going, I love marriage. I don't like you because it's making me question it. Like, how can you... It's like you saying, you know, I don't like chocolate. And so, what? You don't like chocolate? No, actually, a better analogy would be like you saying, I don't like drinking water. I don't drink at all. Liquids. I don't like drinking liquids at all. What? I don't like sunshine. Omega Sigma says, human, could the decrease in meaningful relationships be partly explained by the decrease in psychological need for one another and an increase in differential of goals and aspirations? Yes, and we've got a lot of differential goals, aspirations, marketing, pulling us all in different directions. We used to generally have one base unified goal of family, you know, religion, country, whatever. Now, like the world has changed a lot. Technologically, it's a lot safer and it's a lot more interconnected. And so now it's kind of like it's disparate. It's everywhere. There's no rules. Everyone's an individual making up their own rules. And now we're all trying to kind of get each other. And we don't feel safe with each other because we don't know what the philosophy of the next person is. Our ancestors used to have a general philosophy of they believe in a god or a few gods, and there was a way that all men and women needed to get along, and the relationship between church and state and things like that, and the citizen. But now it's kind of like everything's up for grabs. We're all blindfolded, too afraid to talk to each other. No rule book, can't ask each other. Fear of censorship, fear of getting fired. It's a very psychologically more insecure world. The world was a lot more practical before. Nico says, perfect timing. I have a long drive. Doesn't that eat at your data? Because here, whenever I try to stream a YouTube video while I'm going for a walk or a jog, it just chews up all my data in half an hour. I end up sort of downloading them to my phone to be able to watch or listen to them on my walks or drives. Have I ever been in a fist fight with a kangaroo? It's always interesting how people from other countries see Australia and Australians. How long have we been going for, gentlemen? Just over an hour. Ah, cool. This is going to be a nice, nice, short, sweet one. We got through a lot of questions. I like it when I machine gun through questions and cognitively I'm alert. I got my sleep. Sometimes I just kind of I'm just not feeling it mentally. The last couple of live streams, they've been pretty good though. And thanks for you guys for joining in too. So let's hit the home stretch. If you guys have got any more questions, please throw them to me, and I'll do my best to answer sensible questions. The Bushman says, yeah, there are no victims, only volunteers. Paul Elam said that. Yeah. You haven't talked to Paul in a couple of years now. Hope he's doing well. I think he does his group chats with there's two friends of his. They're always nice to sort of listen to. Yeah, all good made a point in terms of the warmth of a fire or relationship, and someone else made a point in the stream in terms of this kind of wanting to go back to the womb, the male mother need, and he said it's also warm in the womb. So this warmth that a man feels in terms of a woman's proximity, like a relationship, there's this warmth and comfort associated with her. And yeah, it's warm in the womb as well. It's a place of comfort. So yeah, be aware of that, guys. It's a very unconscious thing. Look, it's not something, it's not a metaphor we think about when the endorphins are kicking in and we like somebody. But a lot of that's going on. The attraction, the warmth, is a lot of that returning back to mother. Returning back to safety. Fluffing Fluff says, the older I get, the less willing I am to entertain a woman during dating. If I send her a message and she sends me a one-word answer, I will stop talking to her. Is this common among red PILLERS? Yeah. I think the more experience you have, especially in today's world, I think younger guys are getting more experience because they're having practical experience on online dating and Tinder. They're seeing how disposable women are treating men now. The romantic BS that we used to get fed, you'd find out much later or sometimes not at all. But now we're commercially using ourselves like products, and guys are actually seeing how women act and are just flying through men, never satisfied. Like women were, generally never satisfied. You couldn't make a woman happy. It's very hard. She complains. Now, when you give her a million options on Tinder, forget it. She's addicted to herself and that kind of personality that you can't get her out of her addiction. And the whole world keeps feeding her addiction. So what's going to make her push away her drug and be sensible when her drug today is for free? and she's always fantastic, apparently. So there's a lot of benefits that come with age with guys today, and unfortunately, women when they're in their 20s, because men will do anything for them, they think it'll always stay the same. But our hormones drop in middle age, and then they become invisible, and then all of a sudden it's like it's men's fault. Men are somehow dropping the ball when it comes to relationships with men and women and blah blah blah. It's like no, there's a time and place for everything. And procreation, dating, getting together is generally a young man's game and a young woman's game. But women keep pushing it out until time's up. This is why it's always funny to me whenever women are in their sexual prime when they're in their 40s. It's like, nah, it's because you're invisible. Same with guys. We get invisible in middle age too, but we don't make up a story like, oh, it's because of this and it's women's fault. It's like, nah, biology. Naturally, people lose interest. You know, in your mid-30s, your hormones start to dry up. Women's eggs start to dry up. Nature doesn't care. All of a sudden, your focus shifts from getting together to different aspects of life, and you realize time is short, and getting in the sack with someone else and starting a family, it's in the rearview mirror. You become very specific. I think a lot of women, they just don't want the party to be over, and so they start throwing in like, yeah, I know I said no in my 20s, guys, but now in my 40s, I want to be a cougar. I'm at my sexual prime. It's like, yeah, don't care. Okay, let's see. Any more questions, guys? I'm going to skim through. Corey says, just telling people I'm allergic to women and kids. I think this is his response to when people ask you, why aren't you married? Jay Wilkman says, what is spinning plates? Really? You've obviously haven't watched many manosphere videos. Oh, actually, it's more a PUA term. It's about having many partners, many girlfriends, so you're not focused on one person. The theory is, if you're spinning many plates, dating many women, if one leaves you, then it's no big deal. You got other plates that are spinning. But I find it's an exhausting way to live. Your focus is on women, and you're always anxious, and you're basically you're focused on them. You're not spinning, you don't have 12 foundations. You have 12 rocky foundations that they keep ending and falling and smashing. I'd rather have one stable foundation, even if it is temporary. Oh, cool. Fauna Style Mookie Mook says, human, if you could buy a small, mid-sized SLR digital camera under $2,000, what would you choose? Cool. A tech question. This is selfishly like a question I love. Is that Australian or American dollars? Okay, if it's around under 2,000, no more than 2,000 American, I'll assume American, right? Probably this camera I'm using now, which is still a few years old, but it's still so spec'd up, it does everything you want. It just doesn't autofocus very well. So if you want autofocus, this camera's not good at that. Everything else, and low light, it's not the best. But how many times are you going to film yourself at night? This is a Panasonic GH5. I would say under 2,000 American dollars, this is probably the best value for money. Or any other low-level full frame. Again, it depends on what you want to do, man. How you want to film, what kind of videos, or are you using it for photography? That's another thing. Are you using the camera for photography or video? So for video, under $2,000, Panasonic GH5. If you're not going to be vlogging or moving around, you don't need image stabilization. Get a Panasonic GH5S. The low light's a lot better than that. You got to be aware of like which camera you buy. You're buying into their ecosystem, which means you buy the camera body, then all of a sudden you start buying lenses. So if you start buying Canon, then you start buying Canon lenses, then you start sticking with camera bodies that are Canon. You can't just switch from Canon to Sony to whatever. So there's a lot of things to consider. So it depends on whether you want your camera for video or photography. It's a broad question, but there's a lot of great cameras under $2,000. You don't really have to spend more than $2,000. Around the $2,000 mark, plus or minus, basically low 1,000s to just below low 2,000s, you can get an excellent camera. You don't need to spend any more. I don't have wildly expensive cameras. I just have an interest in like trying to make them look really good when I process them, and how I film, and visually how I set them up and things like that. The camera's not going to do that kind of creative work for you. Crummy VCR says, just avoid intimacy and dating altogether. Simple life is better than dramatic. Yes, but you know, I'm talking about the guys that are just, if you have to talk to yourself to avoid that pain. I get it. You don't want to, you don't want to experience the kind of pain you might have experienced before. But if you can't sleep well, if you desperately want something, you're better off being honest about it and then fortifying your ethics and moral philosophy that you don't let anything in that doesn't resemble the kind of people that are your friends and family if you get along with them well. Only get with your kind of person, and don't do things like live or move in with them before you spent years with them. Like, really get to know the person you're with. Put a lot into it. Don't just take the hands off the steering wheel and then say, well, it's better not to drive. You know, you get into accidents. Accidents occur at such and such a percentage rate. Well, if you don't have your hands on the wheel, you're almost guaranteed to have an accident. Donna says pies versus bombers on Monday. Usually those two always play football against each other on Anzac Day, don't they? I knew it was the pies. I didn't know. It's always the bombers as well, isn't it? And there's other teams that are complaining that they don't get some of that action. But it's become tradition. It's always those two teams and no other. Let me see. I'm looking at comments that have emojis next to them. Humble beginnings. Human, do you think you would ever be able to cohabitate again with a woman? Maybe with the right kind of woman. But again, making sure I get to know her for a long time before I'd ever even consider that. The point is like not having it as a desperate need. And just like the jobs you choose, the life you live. And again, guys, I'm not saying you need to get into a relationship. It's smarter that you avoid the average type of people or the average type of world and jobs, because if they don't match you, don't do it. Avoid the pain. But know yourself the best you can. If you have a door open for a relationship, have it very specific like, and only a certain person can enter it, and then you spend enough time with the person. And if you do want to live with someone, don't live with someone because they're holding a gun to your head. If you like living with a person, it's you. It's not, well, she's going to ask me to move in with her, or she's going to ask me to marry her, or she's going to ask me to have kids. If you don't want kids or to do any of that, then don't get with that person. Simple as that. But if you would like to live with someone one day and you're worried about this stuff, what's your time period to give yourself enough time to know how openly and honestly are you going to talk to and be with this person? So within those years of getting to know them, you're 100% if you want to take the next step because you want to. Just things like that. It's not that this is the script of relationships today and a woman's going to ask me to move in. What do I do? I'm worried. Don't be with that person. Don't be with a person that's romantically putting a gun to your cranium. DFL's pubic... Is there any such thing as a good woman? Yeah, of course there is. Red PILL Conscious says, human, how do you tolerate trying to have a conversation when the cognitive dissonance is off the charts? Walk away. It's frustrating to try and have a real normal conversation with many women. Yeah, walk away. If the cognitive dissonance and the gaslighting and the feminism is very high, forget it. It's almost like two opposing religions, one trying to strong arm the other. You might as well just leave. There was a saying by Dave Simmons says, like, logic cannot win in a discussion with reason. Reason cannot win in a discussion with emotion. Reason has to capitulate or reason has to leave. Emotion will always win. So leave. Wet Palette Warrior says, men want the woman wants everything around the man. A woman wants to feel safe and secure, which today they've been convinced is stuff. Ralph says, my unicorn is awesome, but I haven't found her yet. Yeah, exactly. Yep. You want a unicorn? She doesn't exist? Cool. I'll be fine on my own until I see a unicorn. Or when he says men want satin, women want the ring around it. Mr. Highway, thank you for the super chat. Sup, human, I'm late to the party. All cool, man. Thanks for dropping in. Again, guys, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the bell icon. It's free, doesn't cost you a thing, and helps out the channel. DLFS Pubic says, human, how can I make a woman like me? Listen to her, make her feel important in your presence, make her feel safe. But again, if you have to fake it too, if you have to be conscious about like, this is the game I have to play, there's no point. So that's why you naturally get along with a person like you do a friend, and then later you realize, oh, it's because of this. We get along, the familiarity makes us both feel safe. But if you have to just make her feel safe and happy in your presence, it's a one-way street. You're not going to be happy. That's the point. You can make her like you. Like I said, to make anyone listen to you, to make anyone like you, just listen to them. Most people aren't listened to today. You'll stand out a lot. And especially with women who not just like to be listened to because the world doesn't listen to anybody today. People feel really alone. But women really love feeling special in the presence of someone else. It's all about them in someone else's company. So it's like this loop. They love themselves through someone. Make her feel special in your presence. But again, if you have to consciously do it, you're not going to feel good in the relationship because it's always a one-way street. I find the rule of thumb is look for familiarity. Look for a friend that you naturally get along with. Then, in retrospect, you can look at it like, oh yeah, I make her feel safe because I feel familiar. She makes me feel this way because of blah, blah, blah. But the natural, organic way of getting along with someone, like a friend, go for that. Trust that instinct. Don't try and strategize it, because when you do that, guys often leave themselves out. We love strategizing things. We love things. And when you start approaching a relationship like a thing to work out, you'll work it out temporarily. You'll work out the woman. Then after a while, you realize, well, I'm just working things out. I'm working on it. I'm shoveling in effort. It's not about me. Yeah, great. The male mind is very detailed like that. But again, you forget yourself in being interested in the relationship thing or the woman thing. Don't be interested in her. Be interested in the familiarity between you two. Be interested in the tennis match. Be interested in the friendship. Be interested in the back and forth. You know, the dynamic, the feeling, your instinct, not just in her. Like, don't always be externally referenced to the object. This is where guys get hamstrung. Men are very thing orientated, and woman's another thing that we get interested in because she makes us feel something. Be very careful, guys. You cannot forget yourself in a relationship. And the best way to easily not forget yourself is, do you get along with her like a friend? Can you trust her like a friend? Does she understand you? Does she get angry out of nowhere? That's not a friend. So just operate from very simple principles like the other people in your life you get along with. What 3 books in 2021 can you recommend? I haven't really read any new books this year, but I've got a list of a couple of books at the bottom of my blog. Links in my About section. Wet Palette Warrior says, turn the quality down, human. As in microphone? Or video? Video's fine, I think. But is my microphone too hot? Let me know. Steve, ever do private coaching? No. I'm just a guy with an opinion. I'm the kind of guy that you'd have a chat with at a bar, at a pub. I like having conversations. I don't like telling people what to do. Wet Palette Warrior says, your last chat with Paul was great. A lot of common ground. Yeah, I like Paul. He's really easy to talk to. I realize in the past he may have said some things about MGTOW, that guys got their noses out of shape. I learnt about that afterwards. I only discovered Paul Elam through his Ear for Men channel. And I generally agree with everything he kind of says. And when I've talked to him, he seems like a great guy. So, and his opinion about things, I mean, even my opinion, like 5 or 10 years ago, I don't agree with that guy completely. But I don't get offended at him as well. That's why I don't try and offend anyone personally. Like, I don't get offended if it's about ideas. I don't agree with it, that I agree with someone's accusing ideas. It's their opinion. I don't care. You can make fun of any one of my ideas. That's fine. That's an external thing. If you attack me personally, that's different. I don't know if Paul Elam's attacked anyone personally or made a big fuss that way, but I've had good conversations with him, and I think he's a cool guy. Definitely easy to talk to. You haven't had many conversations. I haven't had a lot. There's one upcoming conversation I had with that's coming up. It'll be published in the next week, hopefully, on my channel. An interesting one. It's just that recorded conversations, they take a while for me to edit because of my perfectionist side. Aya says, hey, I'm a 19-year-old girl who watched your channel. It has helped me get rid of a lot of conditioning that I've been taught, like a man should love you more than you do. Yeah, that's a very awful philosophy to teach women. I guess it's a self-protecting one, so women don't get taken advantage of. But it's no good for that. It overlooks a woman's nature, where a woman, if she's got that egotistical attitude of like, you need to love me more than I love you. I tolerate you. You're nothing. You're neutral. You have to impress me. You have to like me a lot more. That actually exacerbates a woman's ego, makes her become more and more undateable or unlovable as time goes on, because no one wants to be with someone that full of themselves and who has their heads in the clouds that much. Basically, women who think they're tens and nines, but objectively they're threes. That's what that philosophy is teaching women. Nove LNL2 says, I do not want a girlfriend, yet I feel so cold all the time, like being bound to a curse. That's the thing. There's this kind of uneasy malaise around a guy, and he objectively knows that he doesn't want anything to do with the average woman. Yet, he sees older couples and he reads things of the past and sees what men and women used to be like and how they used to get along a lot better than today. There was less and less of this coldness. You only had to keep your eyes open for really extreme, awful women. Yeah, there's a psychological unease today where a man is fine, but he doesn't feel warm. Or in my case, I've said my life before felt like I was in black and white and I wanted it to be color. And I think your life becoming warmer or your life going from black and white to color is a lot of self-reflected honesty in how you're going to ethically approach your life and what your moral philosophy is, and living as much as you can in accordance with that. Raphael says, do these live streams stay on your channel after they finish? Yes, they do. Which is why I try and keep the language, and you guys, if you can, keep it civil and keep the language something that doesn't get flagged. Otherwise, yeah, the channel gets, the video gets banned, the stream gets banned. Ray says, when I was in my 20s and saw a couple my age together, I always thought the guy was very lucky. Now, 30 plus years later, I see them together and think, you poor bastard. Your mum says, how old are you, human? I'm almost 50. DLFS pubic sac, human chooses not to answer my questions. I have answered a few of your questions, man. What are you talking about? Maybe I was just catching up to them because the stream keeps going forward faster than I can answer the questions. Spec Ops, thank you very much for the super chat. His comment is, why does Donna like crabs so much? Joke. Great work. Keep it up. Oh, Donna just left having lunch. What time is it in Australia? Almost 1 in the afternoon. I didn't have to say afternoon. Obviously, you can see the sunlight coming through. Roy says, would you ever live in a schoolie? What's that? Shadow Ghost, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it, mate. Cheers. Paul says, live with someone, OMG, don't simp, bro. Look, let's be realistic. Like, there's some guys that really want to get married and have kids. I can't force them to have the view of me, right? And I'd say, like, if I'm being honest with myself, the only chance I would ever live with a woman would be after getting to know her for years and being 100%. And that 100% is knowing myself, saying everything I want, because I've always had clear boundaries of there's certain points I won't go beyond. I don't want kids. I don't want a family. I don't want to get married. And there's certain things that are like, things like moving in with a woman, because I have lived with 2 women in the past. And it was great when it was good. And then when it wasn't good. But I can't deny when I was living with a girl when it was really great and we got along and she was a great person that fit me, life was really comfortable and nice. So I'm not telling guys to do it. I'm not telling guys to get married. I'm saying to be honest with yourself. And if you don't want any of the dangers, if you don't want them to happen, take your time, reveal as much as possible about her, so you know that's not just fantasy of what you want, that she can at least a little bit accommodate your reality. The worst is a lot of guys or girls get into marriage, kids, relationships, move in with each other because they just want the fantasy and they don't care what the person's like. Again, I'm not saying you need to do it, but let's talk real as well, guys. Is it going to be happy for a guy for me to tell him, who wants a family and kids, who's very religious, me telling him like, just go MGTOW, bro, stop being a loser? I'm shaming him. That's not who he is. You're going to try and give a person the kind of medicine that works for them. David says, why do red PILL leaders on YouTube seem only to value guys that are into muscle and money, excluding all guys that also value creativity, the arts, etc.? Yeah, I don't know. Look, I appreciate cars, but cars and money, it's kind of like, to me, they're kind of production line things. They're manufactured things, and it's fun. They can give you thrills and buy you stuff, but I'm an artistic person. I don't know, different personalities, man. Roy says, watch Red PILL, the movie. Yeah, I saw that a couple of years ago. A couple of old school manosphere people that are the newer generation probably never even seen or heard of. Good documentary. Twilight Zone character says, people don't get that, especially after analyzing conversation like a bug under a microscope. For hours or more, a decade goes for writing too. I can't read some of these questions. Roy says, ever watched old couples eat? They hardly talk. The Nyack says, how do you move past nihilism towards relationships when your mum passed? When my mum passed, my girlfriend cheated and friends weren't there, all in 6 months. I fail to see the point, but it's a question I can't stop asking. Good question. I was in a similar point when I changed my life. A couple of years ago, I've mentioned it. Maybe you haven't heard about it. A few years ago, I had everything on paper, didn't like my life. It felt like I was in black and white. I had a great paying job, had a hot girlfriend, but nothing seemed satisfying. I felt kind of like I needed a change. I needed my black and white world to turn to color. So what I did, the easy thing was to leave my job. And why I said it was easy, because meaningfully, it was the big thing sticking out that I didn't care about. I could always find another job. I didn't like my job. It was stale. I was only there. The salary was the only thing handcuffing me there. So I left it. But then I knew, what are the repercussions of that? It's a big chunk of your week. It's a big chunk of your structural life. What will my girlfriend say? Will she get annoyed? What will my family say? What will my friends say? The people say the money that you earn that allows you to enjoy lifestyles with people in your life. Now that you pare back the spending, who will drop out of your life? Who won't want to be around you? My girlfriend left me. She fell out of love for some reason because I left my job, but apparently it wasn't because of that. And I was going through an existential crisis where I was really delving deep into my own moral philosophy and like, what am I going to put down that I will never take step backs if I can help it? What are my hard boundaries anymore? No more floating around in just spending money, hot chicks and all that kind of rubbish that is just like an ephemeral cycle. I want to have a stable direction. Then all of a sudden you start clearing the decks. What's the old saying? You separate the wheat from the chaff. It's a good thing. And then slowly you stay in it's a little bit of a nasty phase there to get rid of that. It's kind of a rebirth, it's a re-cleansing, but after that life gets better and it stays better because it was such a shocking moment. But it's a very clarifying moment. The nihilism you talk about towards relationships, I'm assuming it wasn't long ago. Yeah, and your mum passed too. Those big shocking moments where you see where people should care and be supportive of you and they're not, it's painful, but it's clarifying. The only thing I could say is time will heal the scars. It sounds corny, but time's the only thing that's going to do it. You'll get calmer and you won't want to go back to that pain you're experiencing now, the nihilism, the pain, the people not caring about what you're going through with your mum's passing, your girlfriend cheating on you, things like that. Your friends who abandon you, if they come back later, if similar types of girls want to date you later. It's such a shocking moment, and it's a great lesson, this part of your life, that you won't forget it, and that'll help you avoid the wrong lifestyle and the wrong people later on. Yeah, Crummy sort of said, to move past nihilism towards relationship is understanding through honest reflection and understanding you're not always in control of everything. That too. Understanding kind of... The main video I've got on my channel, which is the introduction video, which is the alone man, is that there's nothing beyond the man. It's vitally important. That's why men like rationality and reality so much, because if we don't subscribe to it, there's where we can be homeless. We need to be realistic about life. What these moments in life that kick you to the ground teach you is that you need to be real with yourself for once. You can't just work out women. You just can't go for the Ferrari. You can't get a high-paying job. It's about you. You can't just try and figure out the stuff out there. It's the stuff in relation to you. And do you fit with them anymore? The stuff's not important anymore. Whether the stuff is a person or a thing, it's you in relation to the stuff. So you in relation to women, you in relation to the job, you in relation to your lifestyle, you in relation to what you'll say no to, you in relation to whether you'll speak or not, you in relation to whether you have a moral philosophy that you can actually voice and speak. The confidence that comes from that, the confidence and security that comes from you actually waking up and not feeling like the world's on your shoulders. There's more of a levity and control in your life that you don't feel lost. You feel more central. You start to exist. you voice that existence with other people, potential mates in the future. You're not scared to speak. It's not about the things external to you anymore, gentlemen. It's about you in relation to the things external to you. And the important thing is you. You are always a factor in that relationship. It's kind of one of the things that, in terms of books that people ask me to recommend, that's why I say Ayn Rand's The Virtue of Selfishness is an excellent book to read, because it makes you pay attention to you and how essential it is for you to be selfish from a singular point of reference from you, and then engage in life where you're the central point that engages. If you want to have relationships in your life with things and people, you have to relate to them. It's not just you as a passive, invisible, empty object, grateful to fit in with a woman, or grateful to fit in with a job, or grateful to be accepted by blah, blah, blah. It's no, you generate the life that you want to relate to. I think we need to hold human hostage until he answers everybody's missed questions. Unless this stream jumped, if you guys don't put emojis, a lot of emojis, prominent ones, and make your questions stand out, I can't be held accountable for missing questions if you don't make them stand out, guys. We've got nearly 300 people on at the moment, and the stream is constantly feeding. Twilight Zone character. I was human in my mid-20s. Ah, cool. See, some people mature faster. I blossom late. Maybe that's why I look younger than my age. It takes me a while to grow up. Miles says, this is boring. No one's forcing you to be here, Miles. Go watch a cat video. Charles, hi human from Singapore. Hello. Dave B, thank you very much for the super chat. His comment is, since going monk mode this year, I find that I have no anxiety anymore. I think I need to improve this so that I can attract, oh wait, I don't deal with women anymore. Relaxation. If you can honestly say you're fine with whichever mode you're living in, your routines, how you've adjusted your life, mate, really more power to you. I don't make fun of monks or anybody. If you're completely happy, you treat people well, and you live by the golden rule, don't care what you do. And I wish you the best, and I'm happy for you. Have I caught up with all questions, guys? Remember, if you want me to answer questions that I may have missed, put a lot of emojis at the start of your question on the feed, and I'll do my best to answer it now before the end. Oh crap, we've been going for 2 hours. Last time I looked, it was for 1 hour. And you guys are saying I'm not answering any questions. Come on. If there are no more questions, guys, let's wrap it up. So come on, give me your last questions and we'll call it a day. I got a beach somewhere at 4 o'clock, which means I need to leave at 3. And it's just after 1. And I need to wash my car and do something in between. So if there's any more questions, guys, come on, shoot them to me and let's call it a day. Also, let me know. I'm trying to sort of have a good balance of, the last video I did was a very off the cuff one. It was a nice day. I was going to take a hike and I took my camera with me and I shot that small little clip because I had a thought about the interesting topic about men being attracted to relationships and women because of the primal feeling of warmth. Women feel warm to be with. There's like something pulling us biologically. And do you guys like those short little videos, or do you prefer longer 10-minute ones, or or whatever. I'm trying to find a sweet spot or know which to mix up. More short ones and one longer one every now and then. And also, what do you guys prefer in terms of streams? Ones that go for an hour, or you like them to go for 2 hours? That'll help me kind of accommodate the patience of you guys, because I like making videos and I've got stuff to say, but I'd rather crunch it down or spend time just blabbing about it a bit longer if you guys prefer it. So let me know. Yeah, and remember to hit the like button, guys. Hit subscribe, share my videos around on your social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. I'm grateful, helps me out. I've also started to mirror my Instagram posts when I can on TikTok, because one person told me I need to sort of, it doesn't hurt to put it on there if I'm making Instagram posts as well. I don't know how effective it'll be. I don't know much about TikTok, but if you guys think it's worthwhile, let me know. If not, I'll stop posting there. Anyway, guys. ZX, his question is, does the antidote for loneliness change with your age? Yes, it does. My anxieties, my solutions, how I spoke to myself, and how I spoke naturally, my calmness around others, how calm I felt, changed over time. But that correlated with how much more honest I was with how I spoke to myself, what I wanted, and what was just bravado. And I became less Tony Robbins, and I wasn't forcing myself as much, and just became more real in terms of talk to myself the way I would talk to a friend of mine, not try and talk to myself like Tony Robbins, which a lot of people do. It's a video I'm actually going to do in the coming weeks. I've written some notes about it. I think a lot of the problems that a lot of the Manosphere guys get in terms of being motivated and getting advice from other guys is a lot of us are getting motivated by personalities that aren't like us. And what I mean by that is that there's no point. It's why a lot of people fail, where they see Tony Robbins shouting at them and he energizes them because he seems charismatic, he's big, he's got big teeth and big hands and he's powerful. And we think, well, look at his audience and everyone's energized and I feel good in the moment. But the moment I stop watching him, I feel ashamed because I fall apart. I can't remember what he said and why I'm motivated anymore. I think a lot of us are trying to be motivated by personalities that aren't like ours. And so their motivations and their modes of operating aren't like ours. So if I can maybe offer a personality that's similar to mine, or that's kind of amenable to thinking and see something in me and the way I speak and my insights that they think, oh, that's familiar. Yeah, I can understand that. Let me try it. All well and good. But a lot of people wholeheartedly are trying to motivate themselves and direct their lives by the wills of personalities that are completely like them. There's no way I can find my moral philosophy by listening to someone who's motivating themselves on YouTube with the 5 steps to earn money, get jacked, get women, find financial success. That's a personality that's not like mine, and I'm going to demoralize myself because, I mean, it's the whole reason why guys pick the wrong kind of women to marry, let alone to have relationships with, wrong jobs, and they're picking the wrong people to listen to as well. Know thyself, then you'll know what mentors can help you. And then you'll know what kind of people can't help you and don't fit with you. The mentors that don't fit with you, the women that don't fit with you, the jobs that don't fit with you, the lifestyle that doesn't fit with you. Know yourself so you know what can influence you positively. Explore-centric says, human, I dig the sub 10-minute shorts and the 60 to 90-minute live streams. Yeah, I like shorter videos on a very sharp topic rather than rambling on or adding too many topics in one video. Whereas someone might really find a light bulb in one of the topics. So I'd rather do one very short topic in a short video, and do live streams 40 minutes to an hour, or no more than an hour and 15 minutes if I can help it. But if you guys, a lot of you come on with a lot of interesting questions, I can't help, but I'm enjoying myself too. So live streams, because of the casual nature, I have less control of that if it's good, because this is very real-time, organic. Some of these questions, guys, we're talking to the wrong human. Mahesh says, "Hey human, what way is the best to meet girls to smash and move on?" I hate the apps and don't seem to have much luck on it. You're speaking to the wrong guy. I have no interest in doing that. I find it a waste of time. All right, guys. If that's it, let's call it a day. We've been going for just over 2 hours. That's plenty of time. That's an hour over where I wanted to finish it anyway. But I really appreciate you guys coming on today, spending time asking your questions, letting me blab. I'm assuming you guys get something from this, and I enjoy producing these videos and having somewhere to show them. Thanks for the donations. Remember to hit the like, subscribe, and bell. That's free. Helps the channel out and helps my channel grow. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day or evening wherever you are, and I'll catch you soon in the next video. Later.